Well, thanks very much for your interest in Lithex. Here we are, just a precursor. We're quite a new company on the ASX. We've been around for about 2 years, listed earlier in May this year. So I'll just run through. Obviously, you'll all have taken the time to read the disclaimers and the competent person statement and the forward-looking statement. Just in terms of Lithex and what we're about, the background of all the directors are in the industrial mineral space. In particular, as it's just been mentioned, manganese is a primary space that both myself and my co-executive director Steve Crabb were involved in, Auvex Resources. Our chairman Malcolm Carson, who can't be here tonight, instead geologically we're represented by Brendan Borg, our exploration manager. Malcolm's background in iron ore and other minerals. In Malcolm's earlier life, when he started as a geologist, his life was also in tin and tantalum exploration. So we certainly have a long-term belief in the tin tantalum market and the lithium market and the rare metal market as a whole, and certainly a very long-term belief that the current pricing, we believe, driven by consumer demand, should be maintained. We operate in a couple of areas within the East Pilbara and the Gascoyne. Much of the ground that we operate on has a history of being quite significant tin and tantalum ground. All our projects are located via Seal Road, which makes it very handy, very close to Port Hedland and all the vital infrastructure. And further to that, obviously looking to springboard off that, adding value through strategic business development, which I'll explain a little bit further. We think certainly one of the key strengths, and probably the key strength of Lithex, is we still have a very strong cash position following our ASX listing and a fairly strategic tenement holding. Now, there will be a presenter tonight who's going to talk about, no doubt, the outlook and the forces on the market. I don't need to tell a lot of you in the room that obviously we're dealing in strategic metals. Tin, tantalum and lithium in particular certainly are strategic metals for Australia and the increasing Asian markets who are looking to tap these metals. The demand is driven by consumer demand, consumer electronics, lightweight magnets or rare earth magnets, electric vehicles in terms of the uses of lithium and other materials used in vehicle manufacture, wafer-thin batteries to allow objects such as the iPhone, jet turbines, the amazing properties of tantalum and its close cousin niobium, and other rare earths in touchscreen technology, as well as organic applications. And I'll just touch on that. The tin certainly has organic compounds and organic properties that make it very useful in the application in paints, shipbuilding, and also biological applications. Just some recent activity on what we've been up to since listing, and more recently in the last couple of weeks. We have now commenced a 3,000 metre RC drill program at our Moolyella project. We've also commenced an auger sampling program at our Moolyella project, which I'll go into a little bit more detail later, but the target of these programs is for the tin tantalum bearing pegmatites, as well as other rare metals and other bulk commodities such as garnets, lithium and rare earth monazites. Again, we listed on the 17th of May this year. We raised $4 million. We were heavily oversubscribed in our IPO. At this stage, we only have 44 million shares on issue. 30% of our stock is still in escrow. We do have a few unlisted options with a fairly broad-ranging strike price, and I think it's important to note that both our top 20 owns 50% of the company, a strong cash position as of our last quarterly of 3.1 million, and I think most importantly, and I guess this is what it comes down to for a lot of companies, is the board and the management putting it on the line. Combined, our board owns 11% of Lithex, so we certainly and most definitely are believers in the tin and tantalum space, the lithium space and the rare metal market on a broader scale. Again, I've given a little bit of a rundown. Malcolm Carson, our chairman. Malcolm certainly has a direct and relevant experience in the East Pilbara and the Pilbara tin and tantalum fields. Malcolm has certainly worked both for ASX listed companies, unlisted companies, as well as in the corporate world. Malcolm is also a qualified geologist with a number of years' experience up his sleeve. Malcolm has worked the Pilbara from his early days in geology and worked through the banking sector and now back into the corporate listed company and mining sector. Myself, which was touched on briefly, I'm a former director of Auvex Resources, a Australian-based manganese mining company. Auvex Resources has subsequently been sold to Mineral Resources, quite a large Australian-listed public company. Stephen Crabb. Steve and I have been together since the days of Auvex. Steve runs a fairly successful mining services company back in Perth, Western Australia. Steve is also a director of Narracuda Gold. Steve's background is in processing bauxite, alumina, gold and manganese, so the titanium minerals in particular, and has certainly been with me all the way since we formed Auvex back in 2009, and my company secretary. Also not listed on there, I'd just like to touch that my exploration manager, Brendan Borg, is also in the room. Brendan has joined us recently at the company, and Brendan's certainly got very much relevant experience in the space of pegmatites and granites and whatnot. Just to touch on our projects, I've spoken briefly about the Moolyella project. Moolyella is certainly well located, 23k Sealed Road, Marble Bar. Shaw River, 50k south of Marble Bar, same road. The Pilbara region, 120k south of Port Hedland. The nearest, a couple of nearest operating mines to Pilbara. Many of you would be familiar with the Wodgina deposit. Wodgina is certainly not too much distance from Pilbara. Also close to us there is another listed company called Altura Mining, who have certainly made some fairly significant discoveries in the lithium space, and they are closely located. A little less known about, but Arthur River, 250k east of Carnarvon. The Arthur River project is certainly something that we're looking at from a rare metal pegmatite point of view. We're keeping an open mind at Arthur River and keeping an open mind to lithium and tantalum. Our project at Arthur River is located next to the former, not on the former, but next to the former Tantalum Australia niobium mine. Our total area is approximately 780 square kilometres. Just a couple of historical shots that we've thrown in there. Some of those photos go back some time. The history of the region, especially around the Moolyella region, can be traced back into the 1880s and a little bit earlier. And it's been quite a historical area for tin mining in particular. But the advent of rare earths and the interest in rare earths and the resurgence of tin and tantalum as in-demand metals today has certainly made areas like Moolyella exciting again. Just a quick spread, just to show you exactly where our projects are located. The bulk of our ground is located around Marble Bar. You'll see the Pilbara project sits in there. Across the other side of the Great Northern Highway, that is where the Wodgina deposit is, and obviously close to the two private railway lines. Gascoyne Projects, the Arthur River projects are located there. So again, not too terrible in terms of distance from the Gascoyne junction. We've completed our phase 1 and 2 exploration. Initially it was to start getting an idea of and a handle on the data that we had. Obviously there's been a lot of data to go through, being a historical area. We've completed the data consultation, and we've gone through to our stage 2, and stage 2 was to go and do rock chips and soil samples, doing that across 2 areas in particular, at Pegmatite Gully and Alluvial Gully, as well as going through to define auger drill targets over waste dumps and many unmined alluvial leads. The results of that, we've had quite encouraging results across the waste dumps. We have quite a significant amount of tin and tantalum waste dumps left behind by previous mining companies before us. What the aim has been there was to go through and start sampling those that waste material, and hopefully with a view to understanding a little bit more about them and understanding what grades. It looks as though 7 of the largest dumps have got equivalent grades between 690 and 2980 ppm, and using that information, it's given us significant confidence now to go out there with our auger program and hopefully look towards defining a volume estimate of those dumps. We also went and did pan concentrate samples. That came back with quite an anomalous suite of the light and the heavy rare earths. We sampled for all rare earths. All those named, and I'm not going to go through the whole list, but all those named up there on that slide were present in anomalous values. And in terms of the rock chip program, again at Pegmatite Gully, across a number of historical diamond drilling sites, there were anomalous grades of tin and tantalum in the pegmatites and in the pegmatite outcropping. We also came across some anomalous values of lithium, and certainly doing a lot more work to follow that up. Just to note, at Moolyella, lithium certainly wasn't always going to be the primary objective at Moolyella. We always reserve that more for the Pilbara region, but we are encouraged by the lithium numbers we've seen to date, and we'll certainly move forward with looking into that in a bit more detail and doing a fair bit more follow-up work. And just further with the soil sampling across Alluvial Gully, another area that sort of a lot of anomalous soil samples, have been very much encouraging, and that's been backed up by some geophysical and radiometric work that the company's conducted over the Moolyella area. RC drilling. RC drilling has commenced, and the potential there, of course, is to identify the mineralised pegmatites. We're looking at two areas, predominantly Pegmatite Gully and the Alluvial Gully area, and I'll flick to a map shortly just to give you an example of where that is. I think what's important to know is we're looking at quite a large 12 square kilometre body hosted within quite a consistent geophysical structure or geophysical signature. And it's planned to complete a 3,000 metre program, approximately 1,500 metres at Alluvial Gully and approximately 1,500 metres at Pegmatite Gully. Just going on that map, just to give you an idea of scale and size, the township of Marble Bar is down to the left-hand corner of that map, and you've got what you see there is, for all intents and purposes, except for a little bit towards the bottom of that map, is Lithex's ground, and except for a tiny bit of ground off to the left-hand side is Lithex's ground. So we're talking quite a large area in graticular size. That's about 62 blocks, and we're looking at Alluvial Gully, where there's certainly an alluvial field there, surrounded by what you see there is a white sort of radiometric anomaly, and Pegmatite Gully, the slightly smaller circle. The blue areas, the blue and green areas also are an overlay of those tailing dumps and tailing stockpiles that still remain at the Moolyella project. And that brings me to the auger program. Now, the auger program primarily is for the dumps and the tailings. The purpose of the auger program is to get some volume and depth information on those tailings, and also to get some metallurgy on those tailings. Furthermore, we're currently surveying the dumps as well to get a correct idea on the exact volumes we're dealing with. We're looking to do approximately 200 holes, average depths of around 5 metres, to do approximately 1,000 metres of auger drilling. 2012, well, obviously we're looking to complete the drill program as quickly as we can and competently as we can. Certainly then designing any follow-up work that we may need to do at Moolyella in the 2012 field season. Obviously the only caveat there is weather, and weather permitting, we will work at Moolyella as long as we possibly can and restart at Moolyella as early as we possibly can, or as early as our exploration manager lets us. Over at Shaw River, the Pilbara and Arthur River, currently and for the last number of months, we've been compiling a mass of historical data, as well as undertaking some reconnaissance and exploration work, and utilising the radiometrics that we've done over Shaw River, the Pilbara and Arthur River. We found the radiometric and the geophysical tools to be an excellent tool, an excellent pathfinder at Moolyella, and using the same technology as we've used at Moolyella, across the other three groups of tenements. Obviously trying to follow up and testing any targets and mineralised zones there. And there we go. And just on the corporate point of view, we're actively looking at securing additional ground in the Pilbara. We've recently made an acquisition at the Pilgangora. We've picked up a small lease at Pilgangora that's been boarded by Global Advanced Metals, which is what the former owners of Wodgina, or Sons of Gawley, now are. And also bounded by the likes of Atlas Iron and Altura Mining. So our tenements in the Pilgangora certainly have some good neighbours, and some neighbours who have either had a history of making some very good discoveries or have a history of, in particular, making discoveries in the lithium or the tantalum space. We've also increased the ground holding at our Moolyella project, and slowly looking to increase the ground holding around our projects where appropriate. We're not just looking to land grab, we're certainly looking to pick up what we believe is strategic ground for Lithex. And that pretty much concludes the formal side of what I want to talk about. My contact details are there. Brendan Borg, my exploration manager. You're welcome to direct any questions later on to him as well. And my chairman and my exec director are available for comment. Thank you very much.